Hello students, this is your next flipped vocabulary lesson for Storytown Lesson 20. Go ahead and get out your vocab sheet, your pen or your pencil, and optionally you may need a highlighter for this lesson. Let's get started. Once again, here are the directions. Please watch and listen to this presentation on your own. Feel free to pause and go back as needed. Then, write the definition or meaning of each word on your vocab sheet. And finally, in the far right box, write a brief response to each question that goes along with the vocabulary word. Are you ready? The first word on our list this week is one of my favorite words to say, aficionado. An aficionado is a noun because an aficionado is a person, and nouns are people, places, things, or ideas. The definition of an aficionado is a person who is an expert at something he or she greatly enjoys. So normally you would use this in a sentence with the preposition of directly after it. So for example, I might say, my grandfather was an aficionado of cars and often enjoyed working on them on the weekends. Now think about this question. What would a chef be an aficionado of? Write your response on your vocab sheet. The next word this week is astute. Astute is used as an adjective or describing word in a sentence. The definition of astute is clever and observant. So for example, if you wanted to use the word astute in a sentence, you could say, the student was so astute that she noticed a clue to the answer in a previous part of the test she was taking. Now think about this question. Who is usually an astute character in a mystery novel? Write down your response on your vocab sheet. The next word on our list this week is also an adjective, avid. Avid is used as a describing word in a sentence, and it means very enthusiastic about something. So if you wanted to use the word avid in a sentence, you could say, he was such an avid swimmer that he only went on vacation where there was a pool or a beach nearby. Now think about this question. Where might you find an avid reader? Write it down and then we'll be ready for our next word. The next word on our list this week is a word that many students make mistakes when they are writing their sentences, so please pay careful attention to the meaning. This word is brainchild, and brainchild is a noun, which a noun can be a person, place, thing, or idea, but please, even though this word has child in it, a brainchild is not a person. A brainchild is a thing. The definition of brainchild is an idea that comes from a person's imagination. So the brainchild is not a person, it's the idea. Here's a sentence that uses brainchild. The brainchild of Alexander Graham Bell was the telephone. Now that you've read the definition and listened to an example of how to use brainchild in a sentence, please answer the question, what is another word for brainchild? And write your response on your vocab sheet. The next word on the list this week is commemorate. Commemorate is a verb, which means it's an action word in a sentence. The definition of commemorate is to do something to remember an important or meaningful event or person. I could use commemorate in a sentence like this. We commemorated my son's birthday by having a party and eating cake. Now think about this question. How might a famous person be commemorated? Write your response on your vocab sheet. Our next word is conventional, and if we look at the word conventional, we see the AL suffix at the end, which is a typical adjective suffix. Therefore, we know conventional is an adjective or describing word in a sentence. The definition of conventional is ordinary or normal, not special. So I could say, the conventional way to take a test is with a paper and pencil, even though sometimes we take tests on a computer. Now think about this question and write your response on your vocab sheet. What is the conventional way to bake a cake? The next word is traction. And again, by looking at the suffix, we can tell the part of speech. ION is a typical noun suffix. And a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. And sure enough, traction is a thing. The definition of traction is the force or grip that one thing has on another. So you can use this word in a sentence like this. Even though he tried to debate his ideas, they had no traction with his opponent, and he wasn't able to change his mind. Now think about this a little bit more literally. What might make a car's wheels lose traction during the winter? Think about your response and write it on your vocab sheet. Next, we have the word unison. Unison is a noun when it's used in a sentence. The definition of unison is something that is done by many people at the same time. If I were to use the word unison in a sentence, I might say, the musicians played in unison so that everyone played their part at the right time. What are some things that students do in unison? Think about this question, and if you can't think of an idea, what do we do right after the announcements every day? Write your idea on your vocab sheet. The next word on the list is utilitarian, and here again we see the -an suffix, which is a very common adjective suffix. So we know utilitarian is an adjective or describing word in a sentence. The definition of utilitarian is something that focuses on usefulness instead of style. So, to use the word utilitarian in a sentence, you could say, the firefighters' uniforms were utilitarian because they were designed to protect them from heat and smoke rather than to look stylish. Now, name something in your house that is utilitarian. You can write it down or draw a picture in the square on your vocab sheet. The final word on our list this week is wage. Maybe you've heard this word before to mean the money that a person is paid for doing a job. That is one meaning of the word wage, but in our stories this week, we will be using wage as a verb or action word. And in this case, the definition of wage is carry on with something or participate in something. So, for example, you might say, the politicians waged their election campaign by going to the public and asking for votes. Now think about this question. Who is responsible for waging a war? Write your answer on your vocab sheet. You did it! We are done with this week's vocabulary words. So what's next? Well, you can go back to review any words you do not understand. Please circle or highlight any words you still have questions about, and we will discuss them in class. Then be ready to play a review game in class using these words. Throughout the week, you will read and understand stories that use these vocabulary words in them. And finally, you will use each word in an original sentence, and this will be your end-of-week quiz. Be sure to have your assignment completed on time and turned in by the due date. We'll see you next week.